Last off.
Recording in progress. The thing that makes me cringe. Okay, everyone. Welcome to another week's episode of Pond Hockey. Um, it's been an eventful week, pretty
Yeah.
unexpected week. Well, depending on if you're from the future or not, because to me it's very unexpected with how the conference finals have been going and just the news in general this week. I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I got my haircut. Please do not chirp me too badly. I promise it will grow back. I promise. But just this week for the conference finals, it's like I don't even really know where to start because there's so much, like, I guess just unexpected turn of events where it's kind of hard to break it down because both series are looking like they're going to be 3-0 by the end of the night because Vegas is kicking the Stars up and down the ice. From what I've seen in these series, it's not necessarily like the teams that are down 3-0, it's not necessarily their fault because it's not like all the games are blowouts. Like it's strictly going only the Panthers' way and only Vegas's way. Like it's just a really weird dynamic.
Yeah, until tonight, every game, up until this one was decided by one goal.
Yeah, and that still has a chance to be decided by one goal because Dallas is bipolar whenever they want to score versus when they don't.
I know. I know.
Um, I guess just like speaking of like the Vegas and Dallas series, since that's the game going on tonight, like especially this series has me very confused because both teams have been playing really well, honestly, with the exception of Dallas tonight.
Mhm.
It kind of happens when both of the first two games go to overtime, and then whatever this game is going to end up being, which I wouldn't be surprised if it ends like 3-2, 4-2, something like that. Who
I
knows?
hope so.
But especially with this series, like every single game in Vegas went to overtime. So it's one of those things where it could very easily be Dallas on the other side of this because both of these teams are just so evenly matched. It's just one team has gotten a break when they needed it, and the other's just been shit out of luck, for lack of a better term.
It helps that Aiden Hill is possibly playing the greatest of his entire career.
Oh, yeah. Like, very unexpected because I thought we would be sitting here talking about like who should you start, Aiden Hill or Jonathan Quick, because Quick has the experience, but Aiden Hill's been holding it down like surprisingly well.
Hmm.
Like I remember
I
when
mean,
he
it
was a
makes
third
sense. The guy,
stringer.
it is a testament to how Boston has gone backwards. I think they made the biggest mistake of their life, letting Bruce Cassidy walk.
Yeah, I mean, I
Vegas
guess
has been their
hindsight's
best.
2020 with
Yeah.
that one.
I think Vegas has been their best with guys that I don't think are fossils, i.e., the guy they're playing against. You Vegas fans, if you know, you know how much of a useless turd he is.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that the Bruins let Bruce Cassidy go after a while because he wasn't a bad coach. Like he was a
He's a
great
great
coach,
coach.
honestly. Like
I
I
stand by that. He's a great coach. He's a
sitting
great coach.
here as a
I
fan
thought
of a
Gerard
rival
Gallant's a
team.
great coach as well.
Yeah, that'll be another one. That's another one that's confusing that the Rangers let Gerard Gallant go. I wonder
He
where he's
doesn't
going
keep
to
a
end
job
up.
for long, and that surprised me because anywhere he goes, he usually has like good success for the most part, which is always weird to me.
It's it's kind of like Peter DeBoer syndrome a little bit, and Peter DeBoer is coach of the Dallas Stars right now. It's like Peter DeBoer, where like his teams are always really, really good, but they're not good enough to get over that hump of like
Yes.
actually be on the brink of winning. It's really weird because Gerard Gallant, he made that Stanley Cup final appearance in 2018, which feels like a millennium away from right
Back to the
now.
yeah, the Golden Knights
Like,
have been in the league for five,
yeah, five. It's their fifth year,
6 years.
fifth, sixth year, yeah, something like
They
that.
lost the cup, lost the Sharks.
Conference
LOL
final.
Stars, LOL Stars. Choke against the Habs, not make the play. Yeah, it's your 6 year.
And they already and like let's just like stop for a minute. Vegas success in like their first 6 seasons.
Stupid.
It's like unheard of, and they have a legitimate shot of winning the cup this year. Like
Hmm.
Vegas in their first 6 years, that and like it just kind of puts the expansion draft into perspective, especially that year, because they still have a bunch of pieces. Like their entire second line of Carlson, Marchessault, and Riley Smith are
Riley
still
Smith, yeah.
together. Like just
They've kept all.
that line alone made that expansion draft a resounding success because that line's still scoring. Like Vegas is running through Marchessault and Eichel right now, and Marchessault has arguably been the best Vegas forward of the series.
Through the Star Series.
Yeah, through the Star Series,
I could
he's been
agree.
great. He's actually been great throughout the entire playoffs. Like guy hasn't missed a beat since he's been with Vegas. Like it's actually kind of crazy to see because when he was with Florida, he wasn't a role beater. Like he was a good player, but he wasn't like a guy who you just sit and have like an entire scouting session on. But in Vegas, he's a game changer. It's really weird to see.
Gee, I think Florida misses him.
Yeah. Well,
And Riley Smith.
I don't know about that actually because look at them now.
Nah, I'm just messing. Like I said,
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020. It's just
At a
funny to joke
time,
about
I
that because
guess
they
at a
are.
time, yeah, at a time they would have missed him. Like, like the 2017, 2018, like, sure, they would have missed him, but I think they're doing pretty good right now. I think they're pretty happy with where they are.
Oh yeah, especially because we said, especially with game one, let's make the first game of the conference finals be one of the longest games ever.
Oh, okay. So we're just gonna bounce around from the two series because they're very similar. It's
They're
odd how
stupidly
similar
similar.
they are. But I remember watching the Carolina and Florida game one. I had to go to Hershey Park the next day. Like I had to wake up at like 7 in the morning the next day to make sure like we beat all the lines and everything to get into the park.
Yeah,
The game's running like midnight and then it turns to 1 in the morning. It's like the fourth overtime. I'm like, okay, if I'm committing this much to this game, I want it to go to the fifth overtime. Like I just want chaos. I want to see the longest NHL game ever. It'll
couldn't
just be
get
worth the wait.
it.
And Matthew Kachuk scores with 12 seconds left. And I'm like, oh, it's over. But at the same time, like, oh, that was kind of a waste of time. I will say though, I've loved Matthew Kachuk's overtime celebrations where it's like, yeah, we scored, get off the ice, get off the ice, get off the ice. It's great. I love it.
Let's go to bed.
Yeah, seriously. Like he's been great. And especially with Florida, there have been like two guys throughout this entire run really three, honestly. There's one guy who's not getting a lot of praise that he deserves. The three guys to me are Matthew Kachuk, of course,
Mhm.
Sergei Bobrovsky, who's gotten a
Yes,
lot of media attention and he deserves it. The other guy is Brandon Montour.
Montour's been
He's been
crazy.
amazing. Like he played, I think, upwards of 57 minutes in game one or something crazy like that.
Let me
And he
check.
had like 10 block shots.
He had almost 58. He played
Yeah.
57, 56.
Yeah.
And
It
he
was crazy. And it's not like
let's see
these
block
minutes
shot.
were just like coasting minutes. They were like punch you in the face hockey. Like he was great.
Yeah, Brandon Montour's a weird play. He's a crazy kid.
I remember throughout the regular season, a lot of complaints that Panthers fans had was like 1 minute Brendan Montour was like you would not be able to see him. You wouldn't be able to point him out on the ice because he didn't do all that much. And now in the playoffs, it's like he's an integral part to the team. If you don't have him, I don't think Florida makes it this far.
No, he's such a weird guy, especially because they got a lot of help from the Sabres. Because another guy I think that's been underrated, Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, yeah. Sam
Holy Sam
Reinhart's been
Reinhart's
Sam Reinhart, like he hasn't potted a ton of goals throughout this postseason, but the goals he
he's
has scored
so annoying.
were Sam Reinhart's goals he has scored in these playoffs have all been important ones. Like all of them have come to like crunch time. You need a goal, you need someone to step up, and it's been Sam Reinhart.
I also think Sam Bennett might probably be one of the biggest. He's up there with Marchand, starting to be with one of the biggest rats in the
And
league.
the funny thing was with Calgary, Sam Bennett was never like that. I don't
No,
remember a single time where he was
no, he's
like
just a
that.
ghost.
And that combination of Sam Bennett and Matthew Kachuk, like good luck. And like you can tell when teams are playing against them because every single team when they're playing against Kachuk or Bennett just look so pissed off to be there. They're
I
having
would never
such a
want to play
bad
either
time.
of the Kachuk brothers. I'm dead serious. I think they're probably two of the scariest players in the league in my mind.
I I think Matthew Kachuk is such a dangerous player. He reminds me a lot of Tom Wilson, but he has
He
just a
scores better, which is
way broader
crazier.
skill set than Tom Wilson's ever had. He's basically Tom Wilson, but he can play elite level hockey with the best players in the league. Like Tom Wilson never really anchored a line. Like he'd be on there to like
Mm-hmm.
protect like Ovi and Backstrom and pot a couple of goals. Like he's a decent player. Like I'd kill to have him on my team any day. But
Oh yeah.
Kachuk is like a number one guy. You can call on him for the grit, and you can call for him to score a goal too. Like he's I don't have enough praise to give Kachuk, especially throughout this postseason. Like
Oh yeah.
I was bitter about Toronto losing to Florida, but like now I'm sitting here and I'm just like, Florida's a damn good team. Like
Florida's gonna fuck around and win the
I
cup.
don't, for as much praise as I gave Vegas, I don't know if Vegas can beat him with how Bobrovsky's playing. Unless he turns into a complete pumpkin,
It's
I
always a
don't
chance.
I
It's
don't know
always a
how they're gonna
chance
beat
with
him.
them. But then again, it's always the same with it because Aiden Hill's never really been a good goalie
No, he wasn't.
up until now, literally right now. But
The playoffs are where mediocre goalies can come in and just be superstars. It happens all
eh,
the time.
eh,
Because like take
example
Jonathan
one,
Quick.
Jonathan Quick,
Yeah,
Bennington, who remembers Anton Khudobin?
dude, Anton Kudobin went from being terrible to being
Elite.
like 2 wins away from a cup as a backbone of that Stars team to being
Then went to one of the
terrible
worst teams.
again.
Then went to one of the worst teams in the league and gave one of the worst goals I think I've
Dude,
ever seen.
I remember watching that game with you when he had that turnover to Connor Sherry.
Oh
That
my
was
god! Oh
the
my
that was one of the
god!
worst goals I have ever seen, and I've seen
Oh,
some
that's
bad ones.
bad. That's bad. That's up there with the I don't know if you remember the one Karel Vemilka meatball.
Was that against the Flyers? I think I know
I
which one you're
think so.
talking
Yeah, I
about.
think it
That was
was
that
against the
dude's first
Flyers.
NHL goal, I think. I don't even remember his name. I think he's
I
only ever
couldn't
played
tell
like
you, but it was
5
so
career
funny.
NHL games.
It was
Like if
something
that
really dumb. It was so funny.
but dude, I could have scored that goal like that. Oh my gosh.
Anybody not named Patrick Stefan could have probably scored that goal.
I think even Patrick Stefan probably could have scored it.
Yeah, let's not go crazy here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's just been it's so strange. Like the only thing I could say for Carolina is has come up. It's for I saw they put out a troll video to New Jersey when they got eliminated.
Okay, but that video, that I love Carolina social media. They're probably my
It's
favorite social
funny.
media team in the
They're up
league.
there.
Oh my God, they're so good. The other one who's been like really good lately is Arizona's. Arizona's social media admin he has
I
not
swear I
missed
saw one
the
say, "Where
entire
do you want our
time.
stadium?" or something. I
It
was
was a
like,
rickroll.
at least you're self-aware.
It was a rickroll. It was so
Oh,
funny.
so funny.
It was so funny.
It's
But
so just
like
yikes.
even Carolina's social media admin, even though like Carolina's down 0-3 in the series, like his or her tweets still don't miss. They still don't.
No, they don't.
Like every single one, even when they lose, is gold. Like it's so funny. And it's like I feel so bad for like especially the social media managers because they don't control any of the games at all and they have to take the most abuse out of like anyone. But especially
Hey,
with the
that's
Canes social media
oh
manager,
yeah.
his team's doing nothing wrong. Like the Canes could very easily be up like 3-0 in this series as well.
Average Twitter user watches 5 minutes a game. He sucks, bench him.
This it's time to sit down and have a talk about the core four of Teravainen, Natchez, Svechnikov, and Aho. They make too much money against the cap. Their insert name of general manager here has done nothing for this team. You need to
Fire
fire
Rod
Ron
Brindamore.
Brindamore. That's how it would be if the Hurricanes were located in Toronto.
That's also true.
I'm
Well,
guilty of
yo,
it
yo, you
too.
guys are in
I'm
a
guilty of it
no, but
too.
you guys are in a more fucked situation now.
Oh my
We'll get
gosh.
to that later. We'll get to that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, just my opinions on this conference final. I don't want to say I'm underwhelmed by it because the games
I
haven't been
am.
bad. Like the games haven't been bad. It's just the results have been just not that great, in my opinion. Like I would want to see a conference final like I want to see like I don't want to see like games where it's like 6-5 and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, I want like close competitive series that don't turn out to be sweeps.
Yeah, we
And
literally might end up getting a repeat of like Habs Lightning
yeah,
if it's Florida Vegas, because I think Lightning were the number one seed going in the playoffs that year.
yeah, they were.
Oh
Well, they
wait, no, no, no,
were
no,
two.
because
They were two.
didn't the top four teams do a round robin that year?
So it was 2021 for that one. So it was like this weird system where you
That was
had
the
like
expansion, yeah.
the North Division, which is all the Canadian teams, which is why Toronto and Montreal played each other. So for each division, it was 1, 4, 2, 3, and then they just reseeded every time.
Right, right, right.
So for
That
that
took me
year,
that took me a minute to remember that.
oh, who finished first in that? I think it was Carolina that year too. I think Carolina finished first in that division because it was weird. It was like a Southern division. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know Tampa and Florida played each other in the first round, and that
Let me
was
see if I can fact check that year.
the most brutal game I've ever seen in my entire
Hold
life
on.
was Florida versus Tampa Bay game 1 in 2021. That
Let me
game,
see if I can
like
remember if I can find it. 'Cause that
I
game was weird.
encourage every single hockey fan just to even look up the highlights of that game. Like it was some of the most hard-hitting action I've seen. Like it rivals Penguins and Flyers in 2012. Like it's that brutal.
Or not. You literally said 2021 and my
Yeah,
stupid brain typed 2020.
it happens.
I'm looking it up very quickly right now on
Yeah.
NHL.com.
I try
It
to forget that year
was yeah, I know. I
for
know.
obvious reasons.
I know. No, Lightning were three actually.
Yeah, because I think it was
They
Panthers
played
had home
Florida.
ice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then they played Carolina and beat them 4-1.
not surprised. Tampa in 2020, 2021, like you couldn't beat them,
Literally the only team
even
that
with the
almost did
cap
was the Islanders.
circumvention. Huh?
Literally the only team that did was the Islanders.
And even then they didn't.
Yeah, they took them all the way to game 7 and lost 1-0.
Islanders were
Go to
arguably the
sleep.
second
Oh,
best team in hockey.
go to sleep.
Yeah. The Islanders during those 2 years were arguably the second best team in hockey because they were the only team that brought Tampa even close to being eliminated. Even the
Yeah,
cup finals weren't even close.
but it's
Yeah.
uh
But do you want to jump into the off
do we
ice
want to talk
news
about
now?
LOL one or uh-oh?
Let's talk about Arizona because I think
Also LOL. All right, yes.
yeah.
Big
Let's talk.
LOL.
I mean, I have very mixed feelings about what's going on. So, for those of you that don't know, the Arizona Coyotes for months now have been in negotiations with the city of Tempe to build this massive sports complex that would obviously bring in an arena, it would bring in restaurants, it would bring an entire entertainment center for concerts and stuff like that.
But it also would
Like,
cost a ton of money. I
yeah,
think it was like 2 billion, wasn't it? Or was it more?
something within the ballpark like that. The stadium itself wouldn't have been 2 million. It was like the entire complex in general. It's still a
Yeah.
lot of money. Um, but basically, what happened was lawmakers in, or well, really voters in the city of Tempe voted
Mhm.
a resounding no to this complex. And honestly, I don't really blame them because there's a
And
lot
not
better
once,
things.
not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah, because there were three proposals.
3 strikes, you're out.
I think there was one for just the arena, like they'd only build the arena. The second one was for the entire complex in general. And I think the third one had something to do with they were cutting out a little portion of the entertainment center. I think it was the concert pavilion and build the rest like now and save it for later. Um,
You see, I
But
think I can find the stats if I'm able to.
like I know the yes to no's, like the no's outvoted the yeses by like I think it was something like 5%. It might have been even bigger than that. Like it was a pretty big disparity between the two.
Actually, I know exactly where I can find it quickly.
City of Tempe voter system.
No, urinating tree.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember he talked about it.
Using the primary sources. I mean, they're not bad sources. I like them. I do. But just for this whole situation, like when I first saw
Yeah.
it, I was like, when I first saw it, I kind of giggled a little bit because like Arizona plays in like a 5,000 person arena at Arizona State and they don't even fill that building. So part of me feels like even if this arena deal went through, it would have been a not ideal situation because like you saw it in Glendale, we saw it in Phoenix where the Coyotes just can't fill a building. And I don't think it's because of the people living there not being interested in hockey. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem
That's a weak
is,
excuse because yes, people are saying that it's a weak excuse. California's
yeah,
getting hockey with places like
yeah,
San Jose and the Kings. Dallas,
Vegas.
Dallas gets good crowds.
Yeah. Look at Vegas,
Vegas,
even. It's a similar area. Like people are like, hockey doesn't work in the desert. Vegas is doing super well. Like, I get it, they're winning, but like, you mean to tell me if the Coyotes had the same success that Vegas did, it
even
wouldn't
the
be the other way
Sharks
around?
until
I
this
get
last few years.
I get Vegas is a bigger city and it's a bigger market, but at the same time, winning cures a lot of woes. It does. Like if the Coyotes even had like one or two good years recently, I don't think we're sitting here talking about this. I think the Coyotes get that deal done no matter what because they have enough fans
Yeah.
that are invested in the team.
And it doesn't help when the only playoff berth I can remember happened because of a pandemic.
Yeah, it was 2021 and I think they were sitting like 10th in their conference or something. I don't even think they
No,
should
that's
have made
that
the playoffs.
they were like sixth before
Yeah.
the deadline. Bought Taylor Hall, Carl Soderberg, I think one other guy.
Phil Kessel was on that team too.
Was he?
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh god.
But
And
like
then they
just
went up.
and that's kind of been the story with Arizona. It reminds me a lot of the Thrashers. Like it's not that Thrashers fans in Atlanta weren't interested in the team. It's just the team never won and never made an effort to win. And that's kind of my
No,
feeling with the
actually,
Coyotes.
that's a really good point to bring up because I
Yeah.
watched, given the fact I was looking at the three plans, which was amending the general plan, which was just like the basic plan,
Yeah.
resoning the property, which if I remember correctly, or
Yeah.
rezone the property, because you like you said, I think go into a different spot,
Hmm.
or entering an agreement with the group was called Bluebird Development LLC,
Yeah.
and all three of those got struck down. And I think the issue is, like you said, winning is always going to be a big like reason to cure ailments. It's the reason why the Islanders, I think, had a massive turnaround with
Oh
their fan
yeah.
base was that they started winning again through very weird and unconventional means.
Yeah.
But they started winning, and they got a new proposal list. That's finished, right? That's been finished, right?
Oh yeah, this was
Yeah, that's
the
been done for
second
years
year
ago.
UBS Center's been open. But like
Yeah.
even look at my point earlier, like the Islanders weren't a great team, but in 2020 and 2021 they had those two good years and lo and behold that new arena complex gets agreed to in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
their window. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like look at the Penguins in 2000, I think it was 2003, 2004. They
Yes.
were on the brink of moving the team to Kansas City and then the Penguins got Sidney Crosby out of the draft lottery, got really good, won three cups. And now we're sitting here like the Penguins are just a great market.
Even
And I think,
Nashville.
yeah, like I think
Nashville's the same
all
story.
of these teams are genuinely good markets for hockey. Just the problem is the NHL has a very massive issue with keeping fans when their teams aren't winning because the league isn't really all that good enough to keep eyes on the screen if your
No,
team's not playing well.
this has been the closest. The last few years have been the closest. The last two, I would say, and even then, they still got ways to go.
Yeah.
is the biggest issue, but it it's just tough because I think the other part that goes with it, there's three elements that go to it: winning, and it might actually, I guess they all kind of go together. Winning, a good environment, and Arizona has just been filled with issues from top to bottom, from issues with funding. I mean, we saw all the stories with the I forget who their owner's name is. He was a big guy with casinos. And then when the pandemic
Oh,
hit,
yeah.
he lost a lot of money.
I
Not through
remember
his own
that.
fault, obviously, but like
Yeah.
he lost money through unfortunate circumstances. But
Yeah.
stuff happens. It's business. You got to deal with it. And there was just no change casinos can make.
Yeah, because I remember that was why they couldn't retain Taylor Hall because they wanted to
Yeah, that's
re-sign
exactly what
him.
happened.
Yeah, they wanted to re-sign him, but the owner lost so much money during the pandemic. And like, of course, like which owners wouldn't when their business is tied to something that like needs community involvement?
Alex Morello is his
Yeah,
name.
yeah. He ended up having to sell the team. It was that bad.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, he lost money. They've had a lot of turnover, and this goes to the third point. They've had issues with ownership, but they've also just had a really toxic environment. And I think if Arizona fans want to put someone's head on a stick, you know exactly who I'm going to mention here, John Chayka. He
Yeah,
single-handedly turned the Coyotes into a laughing stock.
I think it's been John Chayka is definitely one of the main catalysts to this, but I don't think it's just him
I think he's one of the
because
biggest
like
reasons.
yeah, he's definitely like in terms of tiers, like if we're going off a pyramid, John Chayka's at the top. He's
Mm-hmm.
definitely at the top. But if you look at their tenure in the league throughout the entire time they've been in the league, when have they been relevant other than that one conference final appearance?
I don't even remember what year that was.
2012.
Oh my God, it's been that long.
It's been that long.
Jesus.
And not many teams can survive not being good for so long. The
Yeah.
only teams that can survive being mediocre to not good for so long are genuine hockey markets, like any team in Canada, your Minnesotas, your Bostons,
Yeah.
Philly. Like it's one of
Even
those
then.
things.
Yeah.
Philly will always have a good market. They're crazy about their sports teams.
That is
They really
true.
are.
We are psycho.
Um, but it's one of those things where, like, if you go to a non-conventional market, like especially in the South, look at Carolina and Florida, two teams in the conference finals selling out their building. You could look back to 2015 when both of these teams were like at their worst point, where they weren't even filling up 30% of their stands.
Carolina,
Like, no
yeah.
team's immune to it. Like the NHL, like I think this is a more broad problem than just the Coyotes. The NHL needs to make strides with connecting to fans more to keep them involved with their team.
Well, I
Because
guess
like
I'm curious about this.
mm,
You got a good sense of like hockey marketing and stuff like
yeah.
this, I would say. What
Mm,
would be like what would be steps like, especially in the places like Dallas, Tampa, where's Florida play Sunrise?
yeah, they play in Miami.
Or
Miami
like
slash
Miami,
Sunrise.
Miami's area, yeah.
Around there. Yeah.
Like the Miami Sunrise area, Carolina. Why do I think there was a Houston team? I'm an idiot. Ignore me.
I mean, there
San
could be
Jose, places
soon.
like that. Like, how do you keep markets like that engaged? I guess is my question.
So what I would do, which this is what a lot of teams do. This is what a lot of teams in Canada do. You have to find a way to get your players and your fans involved together, whether that's through like service in the community or having open practice to let kids come watch you or starting up youth programs like the Caps do, like Little Caps, the Penguins do Steel City
Yeah,
Selects. There's junior hurricanes, there's junior knights, stuff like that. You have to get more involved with your community. And Arizona does that. Like they have the junior coyotes. Austin Matthews played on that team. But it's
hmm
one thing to have those programs, it's another thing to be actively involved with them. It's one of those things where you have to show your community, like, hey, we're invested. We're not going to try to pick up and move. We're trying to build a community here. We're trying to keep everyone together. It's one of those things where You need to be active. You can't get complacent and expect everyone to fill your building up when you're not a good team. If you form a connection with these cities that you're playing in, teams will come root for you no matter what. They really will. It's been like look at Toronto. They've been objectively bad, even though like they've been decent in the last couple of years, but
They keep
just look
missing
at
the
their
playoffs all the
history.
time.
They've been objectively terrible, but you see all of these players, past and present, doing charity work outside of the organization, playing in tournaments with fans, coaching little kids teams. It's stuff like that. Like it really
Even the Penguins.
starts, yeah, it starts just like at the organization at the top, and it has to trickle down to like a kid who's 6 years old who can't afford to play hockey who wants to start. I think that's something the NHL could learn very quickly. You need to find a way to get these equipment companies to lower their prices or just start equipment drives, get more people involved in the game. Because if you get more people involved, more people will fall in love with the sport. And the people that fall in love with the sport, if they're in your city, they'll come support you no matter what. I think that's like the most important thing that the NHL has dropped the ball on.
I like that because I guess there's just you know I've had a debate with my dad with stuff like baseball and stuff
Mm,
like this, but with all sorts of things, it's a sport, it's entertainment, it's all these things. But like,
yeah.
what is sports at the end of the day? There's a big level of entertainment side to it, which comes from the content creation and the actual sport and all these things, all the promotions, all these things. But where is everything down at the end of the day? It's a business.
Yeah.
Sports is a business, and if it doesn't like reach like people to where it's going to get people interested, whether if it's like a personal connection or if it's just the game itself having issues, where it's like places like football and baseball struggle sometimes, and they make changes that openly screw with the game, and they make changes that I think are beneficial to the game.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with hockey, where you have issues with the on ice product with things like bad officiating and things like that. But you also have issues with off the ice with teams like more south that they push the market onto them. And when they're good, people show up. But in the cases like Arizona, the Thrashers, Florida, until literally now, and even then, I know they were having a bit of attendance issues this year. They
Yeah.
weren't great
Yeah.
because
They
they
were
were
having a
all
bit
over
of
the
problems.
place.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like the only places where I've generally seen markets get pushed down south that have genuinely worked out. Denver because they actually are a hockey place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vegas because they've been very successful and they're actually one of the few exceptions where they know how to market out to the city.
Yeah.
They've done a great job with that. And like I said, I don't like Vegas, but I can't sit there and say that's not true. They're probably
Yeah.
up there with some of the best. I'm up and I
I
hate saying
agree.
that,
And
but
like
it's just
Vegas,
fundamentally true.
and the thing that makes Vegas a lot different from like an Arizona, look at Vegas's pre-game performances even. Like look how much they've embraced the city and embraced their identity in that city.
Oh,
Like
like the
that's the
opening dramas and
difference.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and like
Oh yeah,
the
it's
like
oh,
the
remember the
poker
pro games?
themes. Yeah, like the poker theme
What was it?
stuff.
What was it like the All Star games and stuff like that? Bro, the
Yeah.
whole events they did in Vegas, like
Yeah.
cheesy, yes,
But
well
they've
done,
yeah,
very much so
but
for
they've
the most part.
embraced the city. Like they've embraced where they're from, and that's what a lot of these teams have lost track of, and that's why they're having trouble. And it doesn't
Yeah,
matter what sport you're in.
yeah, that's why the only teams I thought actually did it well were uh Vegas, Colorado, and Nashville,
Yeah,
and
Nashville
that was
did
something that only picked up
great.
recently.
Yeah,
I'd
Nashville
say
did
the last
great.
10 years.
I
Yeah,
think the best thing to happen to the Predators was having that All-Star game and that Stanley Cup final run. Because that All-Star game
was
just
so
brought
good.
so many eyes to them. They did great. That was a great job by them.
Like I think if you tried to host, and that's the issue right there. If you were to host in Arizona,
I think
I
people
just
would come.
I think so. But the other issue is it also falls on the organization to get things
Yeah.
right. And that's when Arizona was a complete disaster
Yeah, because you
on
can't
and
have
off the ice.
you can't have an all-star game at Mullet Arena. I'm sorry, you can't do it. But like, just think about it. Like, people will go to Vegas for an all-star weekend, right? Similar area, like all-star games, like what? Middle of January, early February, something like that, right before the
Something like
trade
that, yeah.
deadline.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of one person who wouldn't want to go to Arizona in the middle of January where it's like 70 degrees, really nice out to watch some hockey. You can do stuff
Yeah.
in the city too, like relatively comfortably.
There is good stuff like in Phoenix and Tempe and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But I think uh, I've always said this because I know all the Arizona teams have genuinely had a lot of issues, especially when they're bad. I know the
Yeah.
Suns have had plenty of issues, even when they were winning. I know they've had issues the last few years with attendance. The Diamondbacks have always had attendance
Yeah,
issues,
they have.
and Arizona, the Cardinals, we're
The
just gonna leave
Cardinals
it
have
there.
had
They've had
underrated attendance issues.
they've had so many bad attendance issues. State Farm
Yeah.
Stadium is a pile of crap. Um, or State Farm Arena or whatever it's called. It's disgustingly bad.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl can attest to that. But long story short, I know Arizona is always just going to have issues with attendance, but
Yeah.
I don't know. To see it this bad, like to the point where like I don't even remember if they were I don't think they were selling out most of their games at
They weren't, and tickets at Mullet Arena, I think were averaging like $40 for glass seats or something crazy like that. For glass seats.
the glass seats. Yeah, and
Like
mind you, for people who
crazy.
don't know what the attendance is, it's Arizona State Stadium, right?
Yeah. Mullet
Yeah, it's
Arena.
Arizona State's stadium, which, if people don't know, that holds only around 5,000,
Yeah. I think like 4,600 or something crazy like
and
that.
they weren't selling out most nights.
Averaging around 3,800 the last time I looked.
That's apathetic.
And
Please come to our games level bad.
most of the fans that were there were away team fans.
Yeah.
To make matters worse, I remember the game where they played Boston at Mullet Arena, and that place was 80% Bruins fans. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's just been a multitude of issues
Yeah.
from loot hemorrhaging money, not winning, the bad culture, like I said, from John Chayka to oh, I don't know. Let's lose our draft picks because of tampering or whatever the stupid draft thing they did.
Yeah. Working out prospects
To
before they were allowed to.
Yeah, working out prospects before they were allowed to. Before while in that same draft, after losing three of your picks, uh, your first pick was probably one of the biggest pieces of shit that have ever graced a hockey arena ever. You know who I'm
Oh
talking about.
yeah, it was
Yeah, their
Mitch
first pick that
Miller.
draft was Mitch Miller.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
no, people don't remember that. What that was Arizona who did that. He was projected to be a first round pick. He got
Oh my
skipped
gosh.
three. He got skipped three times by every other organization. Arizona took him with their first pick. It sums up how ignorant and stupid they are, and they don't understand what they're doing as a business, as an organization.
Oh my God, I forgot
And
about that.
yeah, it's little, even if it's not like something big like losing money or the bad culture that Jacob put in, or just all the failure and just all the bad trades, all the bad signings, the amount of time they've swallowed bad players, contracts. Like literally half their team is like LTIR. I'm kidding, obviously, but like they've taken like 4 or 5
Yeah, I think it's
contracts of
like
people on the LTIR.
Pavel Datsuk was one, Marian Hossa.
I mean, now I swear they have Ben
Shit.
Bishop's contract right now.
I think they have Ben Bishops. Oh God, who is it?
Is it Pacioretty's? No.
No, it's not
No, because
Pacioretty's.
Pacioretty's with the Canes.
Oh damn it! It's someone who like just recently retired. Brent Seabrook, I think.
Oh
Um.
my God.
Oh shit! There's another one. Damn it. Oh, this is gonna bother me so
Let me see if
much.
I can find it
Yeah,
quickly
I
while you
know.
keep
There's like
going.
I know it's Marian Hossa and Pavel Datsuk. I know those are two of the ones that they still have.
But I find it on Cap Friendly.
Oh my God. Dude, the Islanders should call Arizona and ask them if they want a Rick DiPietro's contract. They're still paying him until 2029 or something crazy like that.
Oh, they have two actually. They have two other
Yeah.
ones we haven't talked about. One, they're still swallowing OEL's contract right now.
Oh
They
yeah.
have dead cap of that till 2027. A million, around a million each year.
Oh, get to
Um,
that cat basement.
Brian Little, they still have 1 year Brian Little.
Oh, they have Andrew Ladd, don't they?
Now
Oh, damn.
they have Brian Little, Jakub Voracek, that was the name I was trying to remember, and Shea Weber.
Oh
Fun
yeah.
fact.
Because it was
They
Vegas
are
who got him, and then Vegas had to trade him for relief. Wow.
they traded they took Shea Weber's contract, and their injured reserve is almost as much, is only 9 million less than their entire team's payroll.
Dude, they're not even trying, man. Like, that's my point. They're not
They're
even
taking Shea
trying.
Weber's contract. He is owed over $22 million till
Yeah.
2026.
Dude, and
Arizona's willing to pay that.
that's the difference between teams that like are bad unintentionally, like there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
Arizona's just bad because they don't want to try. Like that's bullshit.
Because there's cases in point, because like you could compare this to another team that's swallowing tons of money for contracts. You know who I'm talking about, the Wild.
Yeah.
Literally, I think they're paying Suter and Parise till 2030 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's like not even, well, it's their GM's fault, Chuck Fletcher's fault, but like it's not
Mhm.
like they're intentionally
No, and
not
they're
paying
making it work.
players.
And they're making it
Yeah.
work even with having to swallow. I think it's 8 million every year.
Yeah. And that's a
So,
damn good player. 8 million can damn near get you Dreisaitl. Like that's
mhm.
crazy. Like that's probably the best value contract in the league, but it puts things into perspective.
Yeah, they can get you a lot of players. They can get you. Uh, why am I so dumb? Why am I thinking players are around 8? I mean, Clayton Keller's around that, I think.
Clayton Keller is around that. And like even Clayton Keller, like throughout this whole thing, like he
For
has
him.
openly said that all he wants is stability, but he can't get it. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he's gone. And with this whole thing, like I keep seeing people are like, oh, Arizona's going to get desperate. Like they're going to try to make a full push for Austin Matthews. And I'm like,
Why?
okay, that might be true,
What does
but
that
like
solve?
with what money?
Yeah, what does that even solve, if anything?
Literally, they have no money to do it. Austin Matthews would probably cost 50% of their player payroll they're paying right now.
And I also don't think he's an idiot to want to go play. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of teams you see with issues with this. It's almost like a black hole, like black void of just a hopeless chasm of
Yeah.
like players don't want to go there.
Because
Like it
I
happened
know
for the
we
longest
talk.
time for like the Jaguars for the
Yeah.
NFL,
Yeah.
because they were such a disgustingly bad ran organization until literally last year. Um, and it's the same way now. And I look at just something as simple as I look at who they have. They have most of their defenders coming back, save for one.
Yeah.
Um, they only have, if I'm counting this right, 7 forwards coming back, and the names
God.
are Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Lawson Krause, Zach Cassian, Barrett Hayden, Travis
God.
Boyd, Liam O'Brien,
That is an AHL team with Clayton Keller on it.
and Nick Schmaltz. That's literally it.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if those two guys are gone,
They
if they would
can't
trade
move
them.
Schmaltz. Schmaltz has a modified no trade clause. Well, they could
I
maybe
think
move him.
Clayton Keller is going to get traded. I don't see him wanting to play there.
Uh,
Like I know we talk a lot of shit on a couple of teams are just bad right now, but I would rather play for like a bottom feeder team like an Anaheim
literally, I'd rather go play for Chicago
with the culture change that
or
hopefully is
Anaheim.
happening there. Yeah.
I'd literally rather go play for either of those two teams
Oh my
than
God.
Arizona. And it's such a shame though, because I've seen I've seen two statements of like, because it goes to the next point we've had that we haven't really talked about. Especially with this was like, I look at this like with the same way Oakland A's were, they when they put up a big thing for Howard Terminal, like the whole big 9 yards, and that fell through because it was
Yeah.
never going to happen. It was so much money. Oakland, California, it does not actually have the money to build that stadium. given
Yeah.
how much homeless population they have there. It's so
Yeah.
bad in Oakland.
And I don't
And
blame them.
yeah, no.
I don't
And
blame them for
it's
wanting to support that team. Like there are things that are more important in that community than supporting a team that like because the Oakland A's, look at them. They're basically the equivalent. They don't try to win.
no, and they're probably going to Vegas most likely,
They're
ironically.
they're they're going to Vegas. It's all but confirmed. They're going to
Literally
Vegas.
they're two teams leaving Oakland and going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I
But
think this is like I think it's a good segue for Arizona because like
now
this
what
sucks for
what
their
do they
fans because they haven't seen a good team in forever. So that part sucks because we know they're diehard Coyotes fans. They exist. They're diehard fans for any team. And
yeah,
it
it's facts.
sucks. I feel terrible for them because they've been supporting their team. They've been buying jerseys. They've been doing all the right things without seeing anywhere close to a winner. And now your team's going to move. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
matter of if, it's a matter of when.
No, it is the plan. No, it's literally when when I see things like Patrick Mahomes and actual fucking senators reaching out saying like, "Hey, we'd love to have like they could go to Kansas City." You don't think Kansas City would not welcome that team with
They
open
almost got
arms?
the Penguins.
Yeah. You don't think that team wouldn't welcome them with open arms? You
Yeah.
don't think Hartford, Connecticut, even though it sounds like a stupid idea, they had a hockey team in the past.
Yeah,
They
they
had
did.
fans. I don't remember how crazy good, like how crazy their attendance was. It obviously wasn't
Yeah.
good enough to keep them out. But if they put a team in the New England area that wasn't Boston, you don't think people would go?
I
I
know
think they would.
I know one team where it wouldn't matter if the team was god awful or amazing that would make money. It doesn't matter if they were great or if they were terrible. It would still
What are you
make
thinking?
money. Quebec City. Quebec City, like I get the comparison from Houston to Quebec City. Houston has a much bigger city,
Oh,
but
Houston, like, yeah.
if this team is hemorrhaging money, because think about how much money the NHL has spent on the Coyotes, because they owned them for a
So
while.
much.
They
No,
spent a
they
ton
spent
of
so
money on
much.
this team investing to keep them in Arizona. I would think the league would want to make money like that they lost from the Coyotes. If you want to like recoup those assets, I put them in Quebec City. I put them in Quebec City and award Houston with an expansion team at some point.
I could see that. I would think because the thing is, this sounds weird. I feel like there's so many cities that you could put NHL teams. I think you could put one in Houston. I think you could put one back in Hartford. I think they do
Yeah.
great. I think you could put one in Kansas City, and the market would go so. Oh my god! Imagine like Chiefs fans at those games. I've seen Arrowhead. They would fill up that stadium, and it would probably be one of
Yeah.
the loudest places ever. I think even a place like Salt Lake City would do great.
Salt Lake City would be very underrated.
I think Salt Lake City would be an
Yeah.
amazing place to put a hockey team.
It'd
It just
rival the Avalanche with how good it is.
even Quebec City, I would agree with
Yeah.
that as well.
I
Quebec
think
City, that's five
the sweet
from
spot for
that.
the NHL, I think in terms of teams, is around 36 to 40, just because like Canada's into it, like super into it. They deserve one or two more teams.
I believe that.
Um, but at the same time, there's so many like markets in the States that I think would be great for the sport. Like, I think you could have a 40 team league because you have two nations playing the sport and like genuinely playing the sport.
Yeah. No, you're
Like,
100% right on
I
that.
think you could have 36 to 40. Like, would I necessarily like that? I mean, if
Be
they do
weird.
that, I'd like to see the Stanley Cup playoffs expanded a little bit rather than eight. I would do like a play-in tournament like the NBA does at a certain point. If you expanded it that big, it gives more teams an opportunity to make the playoffs, do what Florida and Carolina is doing and expand the market. Like, I think it's a good idea. Um, but in
And
terms of
as
like Arizona, I don't know.
I think they're just screwed.
I think they are
This was
too.
their last shot, I think. I really believe that was their last shot, and they got resoundingly just the middle finger from Arizona.
And I don't blame them because the last genuine NHL building they played in. It was in Glendale. It was Gila River Arena or something like that.
2 years ago.
They couldn't pay the rent to the building. That's why they
No,
got kicked out. We wouldn't be having this we wouldn't be
they got
having this
evicted.
conversation. it's just crazy. Like, I don't know where you go from here other than moving the team. I think you have to move it.
That's just be. I'll be shocked if it goes to Canada though quickly because I was like, so
Yeah.
remember with the for Thrashers, they pretty much didn't want to go to Winnipeg. I think they kind of just
Yeah.
came out of there left and kicking and screaming because Atlanta Spirit LLC is
Oh, they're
oh my
terrible.
god.
They're
Any was it
terrible.
Atlanta Spirit
Yeah.
LLC? Yeah, because it was the same morons who bought the Hawks.
Yep. And the
And,
Hawks
oh my
did
god,
terrible
they were
too
both
under them.
terrible because it's the same thing with the Coyotes. There was just consistent fighting, toxic culture, like lack of care to the team.
They put no effort into winning. None. And then they made an
So
effort to save money. And then they signed, I forget who it was on the Hawks, to a crazy contract that pretty much bankrupted the
Joe
team.
Johnson,
Yeah, it pretty much bankrupted the owners.
and he was not that good.
He was terrible when he got to the Hawks.
It's just
Like, I don't know. I think best case scenario is you move the Coyotes to Salt Lake City or Houston,
mhm.
and I guess wait for another expansion team, maybe. Like, I don't think this is the end for hockey in Arizona. I just think it's the end of the Coyotes organization in general. I think you
And it
just
can
need to put
happen
it
where
to
you lose
bed.
a team and it comes back.
Yeah.
San Jose is a great example of that.
San Jose's done it. Atlanta done it. Granted, did it. Well, granted, they left twice, but I don't think either time the team left Atlanta was the city's fault. The
No, it
Thrashers were
was the
definitely
organization.
an owner problem. It was an owner problem.
It's an organizational issue. It's not a city
Yeah.
issue. And I think it's the same way here.
Yeah.
It's just a
It
disappointment.
sucks. It really sucks because like it's not if it was the city's fault, like I wouldn't feel bad. Like if the city just flat out like just didn't support them, didn't care about the sport, like that's one thing. Like say the Coyotes were doing what Florida is doing right now and still no one showed up. That's completely different to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
People aren't showing up because the team's not worth it. It's just like the Cardinals. People aren't showing up because the team's not worth it.
You thought attendance last year for Arizona Cardinals were bad.
It's going to be worse this year.
Woo! I'm a
They
Seahawks fan, so
might
I'm
win
gonna
two
relish
games.
in this.
They
I'm gonna
might
see.
win two games.
I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm gonna relish this
Yeah.
all year.
Dude, they
But
might win two games.
it's
Maybe.
gonna be so bad. But
Maybe.
I guess let's address the last elephant in the room,
Yeah.
or
After
or
that heavy
good old
topic.
Champlain.
Yeah. Oh my.
The good old
Um
Shannon plan. I watched a whole 2 hours of the whole podcast to get a full rundown of the story, so I understood what happened at all.
yeah, I
Oh,
watched the press conference when
oh,
it was happening.
that's a big press conference as well.
I think this was when I was heading back from Hershey Park, which is kind of funny, but I watched or well listened to the entire press conference for Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas's press conference, in my opinion, I don't think it was bad. Like I don't think he said anything that made him unqualified for being the general manager of the Leafs. I think
In that
he
way,
was
no.
genuine. I think he was genuine saying, "Hey, like I need to talk to my family about this because being a GM in Toronto's market with that much pressure is it's tough." Like just think of
I
how much
have the
even
statement here as
I've
well.
criticized Kyle Dubas in the last couple months. Like that's just even me. So it's like I don't blame Dubas for wanting to talk to his family about possibly doing this job for another 5 to 6 years. I don't blame him.
Yeah,
And it's like you can read Dubas's statement on it because I think it prints a pretty good picture as to what he's going through.
yeah. I guess I can read this quickly. Um, While I understand there is interest surrounding the circumstances of my departure, I will not get into the specifics of what I consider to be reasonable. And just stop me if you hear any point that you want to elaborate
Mm-hmm.
on. A consistent but private discussions. In the days that I felt I needed to assess and evaluate my own view to the future, both with respect to the necessary direction of the club and ensuring that I had the full support of my family for what I knew what would be required in the off season and years to follow the organization as is their right to do, decided to go in a different direction. In the 9 seasons since being afforded the opportunity to work in the National Hockey League for the Toronto Maple Leafs, we have had the chance to learn a lot and have grown significantly through the ups and downs. We have watched our family double in size while developing meaningful relationships, which will last a lifetime. It was an honor to be able to work in such an inspiring place with dedicated, loyal, and an extremely passionate fan base. The impact of that and the relationships with all the people at MLSE, from the board of directors through the to the ushers at Scotiabank Arena, will forever hold a dear place in our hearts. To the players, coaches, and staff at the facility each day, past and present, thank you for your passion and commitment at every step of the journey together. It was a tremendous pleasure to work alongside you each day. We will roll on from here. The Dubas family. And honest tweet is just one word: onward.
Yeah, and I think Dubas handled this situation a lot better than the Leafs organization did
Yeah, I will say
because
I there was one pitfall I saw with how he kind of handled it. Well, it was him
yeah.
and like his agent, because like
Yes.
he said like along the lines of like not like he was guaranteeing himself to come back, but he's like this is the place I want
Yeah.
to, like this is the place I work, or something like that. I forget exactly what he said. I know you might remember it better than me.
So he basically said that it was either Toronto or nowhere, which I don't think it's true. I'll
Yeah, it's
get
gonna
to it
make him
later.
look a lot bad if he does decide to go to like
You know,
Pittsburgh. Oh, Flames aren't gonna happen because they already
you
happened, but
know, I
Nashville's a GM,
don't,
right?
huh?
Nashville's a GM, right? Because they lost, because the guy they had, I forget his name, Ryan Poyer, or Mike, I forget his name,
Dave Poyle.
Dave Poyle, retired to
Yeah.
health issues, and I
It's
don't remember if they got someone new.
Barry Trotz. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, the only team I know that right now needs a GM,
Pittsburgh.
because Pittsburgh, yeah, because the Flyers got Keith Jones,
Dude, they rushed so bad with that. They should have
and the
waited.
Flames got somebody, I forget their name.
I forget. I didn't read that release yet because it just happened today, I think.
Yeah, go what you're saying.
Um,
I'm gonna look it up.
but in terms of Dubas, like people are saying Dubas is gonna look like an idiot for like leaving the Leafs and going to Pittsburgh. But my thing is Dubas, I don't think his agent handled it well. I think if he didn't hire an agent, we're not sitting here having this conversation. I think Dubas resigns without a problem. But
Yeah,
from what I understand, I saw a tweet earlier today that outlined like one of the major rifts between Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan. Because I don't know if you noticed this throughout the playoffs, but Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan sat together for every single game of the regular season, every single game in the playoffs, except for this year. And I think from what I
really.
saw from Frank Saravalli, who works for Sportsnet, is he said that there was a rift between Dubas and Shanahan before the season even started because Shanahan would openly veto moves that Kyle Dubas wanted to make. And the one that kind of tipped Dubas over the edge and made him pissed was, according to Frank Saravalli, this is a quote tweet from him. After speaking with a few staff members at MLSE about the apparent rift between Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas, I was told that it began in the 2021 offseason, so last year.
Okay.
Dubas had a deal in place to send a 2021 fifth round pick to Buffalo for Tage Thompson. Yeah.
No shot. There's no
Yup.
way Buffalo would have taken that
It
deal.
was before Tage Thompson had his breakout 40-goal season. It was the offseason before it happened.
Oh, wait, so this is 2 years prior, right?
Yeah. 2021
Oh,
offseason.
so
And
before the
apparent
year he was playing, like really, the
yeah.
first year he played really.
And Dubas
Oh,
within reason got pissed about it because Shanahan was like, "No,
mm,
we don't have enough draft capital to do that." Even though it was a fifth round pick. And Buffalo agreed to it, but Shanahan apparently vetoed it. Because back
oh,
then,
Buffalo would have been
Tage
so
Thompson was like
wild if they traded that for.
he was a 20-point player before that.
Yeah.
And then he's scoring 40, 45.
Now he scored 40,
So
45 goals, 100 plus points to see. Oh, that sucks.
yeah. And my issue with this entire process is like Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment try to pride themselves on being like this very process based organization. Like they're deliberate in what they do. They don't care how long they take, as long as they take the right actions, because like with an organization in that location, you have to do it because your fans are all over you all the time.
Yeah.
But my problem with this is they Shanahan even said to Kyle that he wasn't going to be offered a contract until the season end because it's where the board of directors wanted to go. They wanted to see where the team would go under Dubas. They had a deal in place after game 6 of the Tampa series, okay? And they were getting ready to sign it. And this is where I think Dubas messed up, because I don't think Dubas is a saint in this, but I don't think he deserved the treatment that he got. Dubas's agent comes to Brendan Shanahan with a different offer than the Leafs gave him. Like there was a $2 million gap or something like that, something that they easily could have closed. And Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment was monitoring Dubas's performance throughout the entire 9 years he was there. And Shanahan said that on the car ride home from talking to Dubas, that he had a change of heart because of Kyle Dubas's press conference. So you mean to tell me that Brendan Shanahan changed his mind after a 30-minute press conference that Dubas had, saying that he wanted to talk to his family about his future first? Like
That's not a good look.
I don't get it. What makes you think that someone wants to come and be the general manager of this team with someone breathing down their neck in Brandon Shanahan, and the pressure that comes with being any
MLSC.
role being any role in Toronto?
Eh, That's actually a really good point. But I also, the issue is, I think I think he's got something breathing down his neck. First off, it's called the board in MLSC.
Brandon, yeah,
Yeah, I
MLSC,
yeah, I think he's got all of the MLSC breathing down his neck, and that's where it's going to get interesting because
yeah.
if they were to hire someone, I and I don't know if you do or not. I think they might let him do it, but that's the issue. Is like if you do hire someone, one, the candidates are light. The number one
Yeah.
candidate I saw is Brad Tree Living.
No, 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 no. Hell no.
But that's the
Fuck
issue is
that.
no matter who they hire though, it's going to be like a case of like where does it start with him and end with Shanahan? With statements
Well,
like what he just put out, that would be something I would have. It'd be like with Brian Burke when he was in Pittsburgh.
oh my
What
God.
did he do? Like it's one of those cases like what was he deciding versus Ron Haxtell? Like it's one of those cases where it's like I don't like if they were to bring him in, I would sit there. You could get mad at the moves, but it'd be like, is it really him making the moves?
I think the deals that were made were purely Dubas, but they got the green light from Shanahan. Shanahan mostly plays the role of an advisor. So this is like American government talk. So, like, say Dubas is basically like Congress, okay?
Yeah.
Like, they want to pass a bill, they do everything necessary, have all the votes to pass it, and then it comes to the president's desk and he needs to sign off to it. That's basically what the power dynamic is. Dubas does the deliberation with other GMs and the players with contracts and trades. Shanahan has the offer on his desk to sign off on it, and he has the option to sign off on it, like you're good to go, or say no, you have to look at this, or veto it entirely. That's basically what the power dynamic is like. And Dubas didn't like that, understandably, because he had
Mm-hmm.
deals that he wanted to do. And apparently there was something about the Nick Foligno trade back in 2021 that Dubas didn't want to do, but Shanahan was adamant that he did it. So I think it was mostly Dubas went to the board and said like, "Hey, I want to have full autonomy. I want to be able to make my own decisions freely because when I've been allowed to make my own decisions, they've worked out really well." He basically said, in order for this to work, you guys need to one, give me more money, make me compensated for the job I'm about to do, and
Mm-hmm.
two, give me more autonomy to work
And
freely.
I think that's where the issue runs up now
Yeah.
is that if they gave him that stuff, it you know what it would have meant?
Shanahan's out.
Shannon's out the door.
That
And
basically
I think
means
he saw
Shanahan's
that,
out the door.
took
And
that as a threat.
Shanahan has the power to be like, no, you're gone. I want to keep my job. Even though, mark my words, if the
I think
Leafs
this is
get
a mistake.
if the Leafs get eliminated in the first round next year, and there's a high likelihood that they do, or they do something monumentally stupid and aren't able to re-sign Matthews to a contract this offseason,
Yeah.
Brandon Shanahan is gone. So Brandon Shanahan is gone and Kyle Dubas is gone. And I am willing to bet money that Kyle Dubas will sign with Pittsburgh
Good
this
chance.
offseason. I think
Unless
he will
Pittsburgh's
sign with
stupid
Pittsburgh.
and signs Brad Tree Living.
I think, well, Pittsburgh had their GM choice all but done until Dubas became available. They were going to announce it today, and now they're speaking to Kyle Dubas.
Huh. That's interesting. Also,
Yeah.
it's a little off topic, but the point we were looking up the GMs quickly. The Flames GM is Craig Conroy.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Why do I feel like he worked with the Oilers, or am I thinking of someone else? He's a former player.
Oh, that's probably why. I don't know if he. Yeah, I think that name sounds familiar. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
he's a
but
new prospect general manager, which isn't necessarily bad for where the Flames are.
the
But
worst part is like I understand why Shanahan made the move he did. I get the amount of pressure that he got. I just think this was something where, and I don't think it's as much as Dubas as it was his agent, but he's still
yeah,
a little bit a part of it. Where two
yeah,
egos didn't want to budge, they couldn't compromise, and the one who was technically lower on the scale ended up biting the bullet.
yeah.
And and what makes matters worse, from what I saw, Shanahan wants to keep all four of them still. That's what I've heard. That's what I've
Dude,
seen. He wants to keep
literally,
all four. They're not. It sounds like they're not going to move any of the four, at least from what I've seen.
they are doing the worst case scenario, I think. I think this is worst case
Definitely up
scenario.
there.
Unless what their plan is, if their plan is to keep the core four until Tavares' contract runs out, I might be okay with that. But you're wasting years of your stars, man. I don't know how long you can do that. Especially if, like, say Matthews, and this is a real possibility, say he signs another bridge deal for 3 years. That means the Leafs have 2 years to build a team with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander without Tavares. Because I think
That's
far and
before
away
you even
Tavares'
go.
contract is the worst of the core four because of
Well,
how
that
old
goes
he
without
is.
saying.
But dude, you can't waste this much time.
Especially because next year they have two deals to deal with.
I think they get the Matthews deal done, except this search for a general manager is super fucking risky, especially with the amount of pressure you need. Like, I think this rules out the core four, like, being separated. I think it
They're
rules it
not
out
going to. It's
entirely,
guaranteed.
but it puts a crunch time on getting a Matthews deal done. And it's one that I don't know if they have the time to do it.
No, I'm looking at quickly right now.
Like, it's
Um,
gonna be crunch time. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I really don't.
I'm trying to see who's up there to potentially get GM jobs.
I think it's going to be either their assistant GM or someone who's currently in the front office right now.
Sporting News is telling me a very different story right now, but it could be wrong.
Who is it saying?
Um, well, Tree Living's one.
Of course.
Mark Bergevin.
Dude, you're going to see me walk off camera.
and Eric Tulsky
Eric Tulsky, I've seen some of his work that he's done. I wouldn't mind him.
and Mark Hunter is the other guy.
Mark Hunter, I wouldn't mind either.
But if they sign
If they
Tree
sign
Living
Mark
or
Bergevin,
Bergevin,
if
oh my
they
god.
if Mark Bergevin is the GM of the Leafs, I might go on strike. I might watch the Kraken with you. I'm dead serious.
You can't do a year first.
I don't think I would watch them if Mark Bergevin is the GM. I don't. Dude,
Oh my god.
that is awful.
There's no way it has to be a troll. It has
Oh,
to be a
gee,
troll.
let's sign Mark Bergevin, a guy who is
Hey, he
genuinely
took him to the cup
shit.
final.
Dude, he literally took a shit on every single draft pick that he made, and Carey Price bails his ass out and makes it to a Stanley Cup final. Mark Bergevin
Oh
would
my
never have a job in the
god.
NHL again if it weren't for Carey Price.
That's actually kind of true.
And he still probably won't because he was terrible.
It's so
He
bad.
set the Habs back at least like 5, 6
A
years.
decade.
Oh, he was so terrible. He was so terrible.
Wait,
I
who
hope
else is
not.
there? There's only two other names I've seen. It's just a list of people. So I
Yeah.
said Mark Hunter. I said Eric Tulsky.
Eric Tulsky, I'm fine with.
Oh, you're not gonna like the last two.
Who are the last
Oh wait,
two?
there's three. They're
It's gonna be
very
Stan
unlikely.
Bowman. It's gonna be
He's
Stan
one.
Bowman, isn't
He's
it?
one. He's
Fuck.
one. He's one. These are probably very unlikely. They're not gonna happen most
Yeah.
likely. He's one.
Yeah.
You're sure.
Dude, I just shat my oh my god. No.
Jim
Listen to me. Listen to me right now. I know MLSC isn't watching this, but I need you to hear me. I need you to hear me right now because this is my Joker origin. If you sign Mark Bergevin, Peter Chiarelli, Stan Bowman, or whoever the fuck the last guy was,
Jim Benning.
Yeah,
The guy from the
Jim
Canucks.
Benning, who bumbled his way out of Vancouver, I'm going to come up to Toronto, and you're not going to like when I do, because when I come up to Toronto, I'm going to take an open shit on Brendan Shanahan's desk and make him wish he was never born. They better not.
Oh I don't think any of those are gonna happen, but if I were to guess on ones that could happen, Bergevin could happen. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility considering how
If
stupid they
you
are right now.
speak this into existence, we're
If I
going to
speak
have a
this into
problem.
existence, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna
We're
cry.
gonna we're gonna
No,
have a
it's
problem.
if I were to guess, it's probably gonna be why am I bad with names? It's gonna be either Eric Tulsky or Brad Tree Living, but
I think it's Tulsky.
I have a bad feeling it's gonna be Tree Living because Shanahan wants a yes man.
Then let Shanahan be the goddamn GM if he
I
wants it
think they
so
should.
bad.
I think they should. But
Let Shanahan be the GM, but no, he's
it's a
not
lower
gonna do
title,
it.
it's less money probably. It's less
Oh my
like
god,
business operations. They're not gonna do it. It's
dude, just
just
let fucking Shanahan go. The Shana plan is not working, dude.
bro.
He's been here since 2013. What have they done? Win a singular round? That's about it. Like it's not working. It's just not working. I if it's any of those four you mentioned, I might have to riot. I don't know. I just might have to riot. Also, I think he froze. I think my rant was so powerful that it made him freeze. Yeah, I think the rant was too powerful. Wow, I had the mic muted. We're having all kinds of problems, but I think my rant was too powerful. I have Nick on the phone to sign off.
My Wi-Fi committed sinusoidal.
Yeah, his Wi-Fi died mid podcast.
Got it back. I've been trying for 3 minutes. I can't get it back.
Oh my gosh. Well, we got through most of the rant anyways. So thank you guys for tuning in this week. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Yeah, it is good that it happened at the end, but thank you guys for tuning in. It was a little chaotic, but you know, that's life. Life has its ups and downs with chaos. We will see you guys next week. If your teams are still in the conference finals, especially if you're a Florida Panthers or Vegas Golden Knights fan, good luck to you guys. To the teams that are down 3-0, maybe you guys will become the 5th and 6th teams to overcome a 3-0 deficit. Who knows? But thank you guys for tuning in this week. We will see you next week. Have a good week, everyone. See you later.